Hi, my name is Jenna Fetter, and I am a senior nursing student here at Bloomsburg University. Today I will be talking about the North Korean nuclear missile crisis and its relationship with the United States. You may ask why I chose this topic of talking about the nuclear missile crisis in North Korea, because really we're living here in the United States. But I chose this topic because it is a current issue in the world culture and politics. It is also a danger to citizens around the world, but even here in the United States. You may not think that, but I will be explaining today how it could affect us. It also does affect the relationships around the nations, including us here in the United States. And as you can see in the pictures on this slide, it is a big headline all over, even in well-known sources such as the Wall Street Journal. And as you can see also in the pictures, it affects the leaders of the two main countries involved, North Korea and the United States. The leaders here, and you can see in the bottom right picture, is Kim Jong-un of North Korea and Donald Trump, the President of the United States. You may or may not know a basis and background on the information of the North Korean nuclear crisis. So on this slide, I'll be giving you some of that information so you can better understand it for the following slides. North Korea has fired 22 missiles during a total of 15 tests since February of this year. And with each launch, they improve their technology and start to perfect each missile that they are firing. In less than the 6 years into his leadership, Kim Jong-un has tested more missiles than what his father and grandfather did in their reign combined. And that is depicted in this picture on the slide. It shows how many missile tests were conducted with Kim the second's son, Kim Jong II, and now with Kim Jong-un. North Korea's goal is to create a missile with a nuclear warhead that does reach here in the U.S., and this is due to the belief that the U.S. wants to remove Kim Jong-un from power in North Korea. Of the missiles tested before July 4th of this year, and that missile was the intercontinental ballistic missile, which has the power to reach here in the U.S. 1 was intermediate range, 2 were medium range, 8 were either short range or medium range, and one of them, the range is unknown. Because this is an ongoing crisis, you may ask who are allies and who are enemies. As I'm sure you know, the U.S. and North Korea are the two main enemies in this crisis. So on the side of the U.S., South Korea and Australia are very much so siding with them. China is known to mostly take a neutral stance. There have been some viewpoints that seem China's on the U.S. side and that the U.S. is helping to protect them. But on other aspects, it seems China may possibly be siding with North Korea at times. Because of the NATO pact, which was developed back around the 1940s, and it is comprised, as you can see in this map here, of 28 countries. It was created based on staying together to prevent the Soviet Union from taking over, but it still holds true today. So both the U.S. and Germany are in this NATO pact. Therefore, Germany is classified to be an ally in the U.S. in a crisis such as this missile crisis. There has been many events in the past few years leading up to this ongoing crisis, but to hone in on the current events, I've listed some of the main events happening in this current year of 2017. The very first day of this year, January 1st, the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, warned that they could soon test an intercontinental ballistic missile. On January 8th, the U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter stated that our military would shoot down any North Korean missile that was fired at the United States or any of their allies, which I had talked about on the past slide. Then on January 12th, the U.S. military deployed radar equipment that was sea-based to track the long-range missiles that are being launched by North Korea. On July 4th, which coincidentally is our Independence Day here in the U.S., North Korea made claims that they had their first successful test of the intercontinental ballistic missile that they stated could reach anywhere into the world. Then on July 25th, North Korea threatened to strike the heart of the U.S. if they attempt to remove Kim Jong-un as their supreme leader. In the next month, on the 7th of August, North Korea accused the U.S. of trying to drive the situation of the Korean Peninsula to the brink of nuclear war. After the UN Security Council adopted new sanctions in response to Pyongyang's long-range ballistic missile tests the last month. Then on August 9th, North Korea's military created and examined a plan to strike areas around the U.S. territory of Guam, since that is in a little bit easier reach, with medium to long-range strategic ballistic missiles. These plans were published one day after President Donald Trump warns Pyongyang that if it continues to threaten the U.S., it would face fire and fury like the world has never seen. Lastly, on September 3, 2017, North Korea carried out its sixth test of a nuclear weapon, causing a 6.3 magnitude seismic event, similar to what an earthquake would feel like, as measured by the United States Geological Survey. Pyongyang claims the device was a hydrogen bomb that could be mounted on an intercontinental missile. A nuclear weapons monitoring group described the weapon as up to 8 times stronger than the bomb that was dropped in Hiroshima in 1945. In response to this test, President Trump tweeted that North Korea continued to be very hostile and dangerous to the United States. He goes on to criticize South Korea, claiming that as they had been allies with the U.S., he believes that the country is engaging in talk of appeasement with its neighbor to the north. He also states that North Korea is an embarrassment to China, claiming that Beijing is having little success reigning in the Kim regime. Because this is such a pertinent event in the current world politics, you might wonder, what are the effects of this crisis? One of the main ones is that trade is being affected between different countries, especially with countries that have previously traded with North Korea. One of these being that the United States banned exports of North Korean goods in anything from coal to seafood. They also added individuals and organizations to a blacklist and blocked new joint projects they were organizing with North Korea. As you can see in the picture, in the right-hand top corner of this slide, it shows different exports and imports of North Korea. There has also been withdrawal of assistance to North Korean citizens. This included the ideas of food assistance from the U.S. to the citizens of North Korea. Also, there are thoughts that there might be creation or education of the production process of weapons and missiles from North Korea to other nations, and this could be a harm to all the nations around the world, including the U.S. These nations that were siding with North Korea in the production of these weapons would be Syria and Libya. Lastly, because of the tension between the U.S. and North Korea has imprisoned several U.S. citizens. One of these main stories that has arose was the imprisonment of the college student Otto Warmbier, who was 22 years old. He was on a trip with several other college students in North Korea in 2016 when he was imprisoned by North Korean officials and sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. His health started to seriously deteriorate, and this year in 2017, he was brought back after a lot of hard work to the United States, whereafter within a week of him being brought back, he died. The state of his health when he was brought back from North Korea, he was in a coma. It showed very much so brain damage and all of that. He had been in a coma for several weeks, it is known, in North Korea. And you can see he is pictured there when he was first sentenced in North Korea by its officials. And on this slide, I showed a picture of the several different missiles and its types that the North Korea has tested, and how, corresponding with each missile, how far it could actually reach, because the question to this slide was, could this truly damage the U.S.? And so this states that the intercontinental ballistic missile Taepodong-2 is what could actually reach and damage our home nation. And you can see there the tracks of what it would take, and it does span all the way across from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. And in conclusion, I have given you a better look into the missiles of North Korea that they're threatening nations such as the United States with. I thought it might be interesting to all of you and just give you a better picture of what I've been discussing throughout this presentation. So the center picture shows the time it would take from North Korea for a missile to reach certain areas around the world. So in Seoul, it would only take 0 to 6 minutes. In Tokyo, it would take 10 to 11 minutes. And then here in the US, it would take about 30 to 34 minutes to hit San Francisco and about 30 to 39 minutes in Washington, D.C. And this is well known information and therefore does help places such as here in the US to prepare, but also shows how little time it would take from the time a missile was launched in North Korea to actually hit and put us in danger. So then in the surrounding pictures, it just shows the different missiles that are in the process of being ready to be tested in North Korea and then in the actual process of being launched. And you can see in the ones all the North Korean citizens saluting along with the leaders, saluting these missiles as they're paraded through the streets.